You know, I met a young girl who I was coaching and counseling, and she was abused from, I think, 8. Her father sent her to his brother, you know, to put her in school. And she was there. She was abused till she came to me when she was about 15, I think. And this has been going on. You can imagine how many years. And I said, why didn't you tell your mom that? How would she tell her father that his brother? So she knew the implications, what it would mean to the family. So she just tolerated. And I said, but you're not helping. And he had he keeps bringing in other young girls. As of when she was leaving, 2 other girls, one was 10, one was 11, came. And you can imagine their faith. So I was like, you're not helping them. If you speak up, at least your father or somebody will hold him accountable. And it will also save the other young girls that have come to them.
Welcome to Unfiltered, where we say it as it is. I'm Emanuela Okechukwu. Too many young children are living through abuse in silence. And the worst part is, many of these cases happen right under our noses. These are done by people who should be protectors. Today on Unfiltered, we are going to be discussing pedophilia and child sexual exploitation. According to UNICEF, at least 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 10 boys in Nigeria have experienced sexual abuse before the age of 18. In some regions, like the Southeast, nearly 40% of adolescents report going through some form of sexual abuse. Globally, the numbers are just shocking. According to ECPAT International, over 300 million children are victims of online sexual exploitation every year. And as reported by WHO, more than 650 million women and children alive today were sexually abused as children. Now, behind every one of this number is a broken child and a scarred life. To help us understand the damages this act has caused and the possibilities of a turning point is Mrs. Godiya Ezeagwula, who is a coach, a gender activist, and an advocate for mental health wellness. She is the executive director of Daughters of Abraham Foundation. You're welcome to Unfiltered, Ma.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
All right, Ma. Given the number 1 out of 4 girls in Nigeria that are molested sexually, what does this tell about societal and parental guidance in Nigeria?
That's a very, very unfortunate one. The truth is, these things have come into our culture, or rather I would say they've been here for a long time. I know have been as rampant as now, but it has always been there. And this also says a lot about we as a country. It means we're not being serious with our children, with, you know, child protection policies and all that. Because you see, even babies nowadays are being molested, they're being abused, they're being exploited. Young children, when you go to primary schools, you'll see a lot of children come out to say they've been sexually harassed or they've been molested. And you know, it seems as if nothing is really being done. Or I would say it's not being taken seriously, which we as a country should take seriously, because this affects them when they become adults.
Right, but is this, you said it has been there. For how long do you think this has been operating for it not to have gotten the solution that it requires?
It has been going on as long as I've known, for a long time. But now it's more rampant because people are now speaking up. Before, you know, families want to hide all this mess. They don't want you to think they're bad. It might be an uncle, a father, a brother, you know. So before, let me say before it's covered, we don't talk about these things, we just cover it, so it seems as if it's not there. But if people are bold enough to speak up, our mothers, they will let you know that these things have been there. But now, you know, with people being awake now and being more enlightened, they are now getting bolder to come out and say, okay, this happened to me, without much stigmatization like before. Why
was it like kept in private before now? Why was it not, you know, people speaking up about their experiences? Is it because of the psychological, mental problems that it creates for them?
Yes, not only that, because of the stigmatization of the family. Then even when you hear a child is pregnant or a teenager is pregnant, the mother feels so embarrassed. So they hide these things. You hear a girl is pregnant and then the mother sends her somewhere, So things like that. It was more like, I would say it was also a mental health problem, because the parents felt embarrassed or felt ashamed, not thinking of what the child is feeling and what damages is doing to the child as well. So they kept quiet because of how things were also then. They were not as bold as how we are now. We are more enlightened with the new age. People are coming out to be themselves. People are bold enough to say what they want, what they do not want. Before, it wasn't like that. We just curtail these things. We manage ourselves, and then no social media.
Cause bullies to the children. People talking to them.
Yes. So parents wanted no insults. You say, see you that your child was, so people avoid things like this, and they'll tell you it's family. Let's manage it within ourselves, and then no justice. Maybe the person even continues, So I feel those things contributed way back. But now, when we're teaching parents to know that it doesn't mean anything, you shouldn't be ashamed. The person who did this should be ashamed, So they are now getting more comfortable to come out. I had a case of a woman who came to me, and the way her child was, I could tell that something was wrong, And I asked the woman, I said, has this girl been abused? And she was like, no, she doesn't think so. I said, don't worry, when I speak with her, I'll know. And eventually I found out that at 11, and this abuse went on for like 5 years straight. And I told the mother, she said, well, she told me, but I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't believe her. I said, as a mother, the first thing you should do is believe her, whether she's saying the truth or not, till you find out maybe she was lying. Your first role was to stand by her and support her, regardless who. So things like that. And at the end of the day, she called me crying and appreciating, So they are not bold because they also don't know how to go about these things. They don't know the implications, what it will do to the family, what it will do to them, So they try to just bury it and pretend it's not there, and the damages are done.
All right, for parents who their kids don't speak up now, what are the signs you think they might be seeing to have an insight that this is what this child is going through?
There are different types of signs. Some, they are withdrawn. They start withdrawing a lot, not wanting to mix with people. And some, they become too clingy to maybe the parent, to the mother, but not saying much. They start being clingy to the father or to the mother because they can't open their mouth to tell you, or you start sensing a lot of fear in them, fear of being alone, fear of going to certain places, and bruises. There are things you could pick out, And for some, like for teenagers, some become sexually active. They become outrageous. You hear them really misbehaving. So not every time you hear a girl is maybe sleeping around or misbehaving, you think she's just being wayward. She might have been abused at very young, and then some get used to this thing. Imagine a child that has been having sex from 9 years old, 9, 10, 11. What do you expect from her? That's what she knows. So it becomes a habit. They want to sleep with everybody. They want to misbehave. They want to express, because that's what they know.
They weren't put in line on how these things work, so they just want to.
And they feel is their normal, so that's their reality. That's what they know. So when you see a child being overly withdrawn, or some of these perpetrators, they bribe them a lot, so they don't tell, or they threaten them, so they might have fear, or they become extravagant. You see them spending in school, buying things in school that their parents didn't give them. Once you just see an abnormal behavior, it's good for you to pick interest and take the child to a counselor, or if you're a counselor, you find out, and then you'll know that there are issues on the ground.
Let's talk about child marriage. Do you think this act helps, has a good play in how these things turn out? Marrying of children as
a child should know are toys and school. I don't believe in child bride. I don't even see how we make it look normal. I don't understand it. Because
it's normal.
I know, especially in African context, and I understand what you're saying, but it's sad. Because even if we hear things like, no, we just marry them up because they're trying to help them not to be promiscuous, not to misbehave. But imagine if you're marrying them off to a pedophile, what happens? They'll tell you they will not sleep with the child till the person is it 16 or 18? I can't remember the age. How realistic is it?
I think from 10 upwards.
They start sleeping with them from 10?
Oh, I don't know about that, but
no,
I think
most times I hear them say, no, they marry them, but they don't touch them till a certain age. But that's not true. Let's be realistic. If it's a pedophile now, with how the wife is looking, because you see children at 13, 12 now, you can't even tell how old they are.
Sure.
They look 18, they look 16, and then they are married off to such men, for example, now. They'll start taking advantage of them. That's why you hear issues of VVF and all those things, or they start having problems, giving birth and all that, because they are too young. Their body is not supposed to carry such. And some of them, and in that context, to me, it's totally wrong, and the government should do something about it. We are just sugarcoating it because of a lot of powerful people are being involved in these things.
A lot of people say it's a historical thing. It's
wrong.
It goes
because
are
there laws that check them? Okay, if you're marrying off a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old now, are there laws? How are we sure that you're taking care of this child? You're not molesting the child? What has the government done to check these things? Do they send social workers to go and ask them questions? Do they send counselors? They just marry them up and feel they're okay, and then you don't know what the person is going through in the house.
Sure. I mean, so if you really want to marry that child, take care of the child in the father's home till she's of age.
But you say you're not doing anything, and then when you ask them, some of them are not bold enough to come out because of who they are married to and the fear, so they can't even talk. And in that context of the North, where some of them see their wives as properties like their own, they have their own.
Sure.
So most of them can't really say anything. But when you go and talk to them, you see that they are battered, they are sad, they are depressed. They can't talk about these things. So we're just raising damaged adults.
My question right now is, do you think the people who are not married to them now, the people that get married to the younger ones, that's the child marriage, do you think the people outside, the real pedophiles, hold on to this act and feel, if an old man can get married to this little girl, so why don't I go ahead and molest this child then? I
feel a pedophile has a mental demonic they have a problem. It's a twisted thing. It's a very twisted thing, because I don't see where I've seen there was a video that circulated, and you could see the girl, I think she was like, is it 3 or 4, and you could see the injuries, and there's really nothing sexually attractive. So you can't explain, you can't say because of maybe it's because of the North, so let me say they're allowed. I don't know if it's only the North though, if they are the ones allowed to marry off people. A pedophile is a pedophile. They only want to hide behind certain things, but it's a mental problem to me, psychiatric problem.
Have you happened to maybe interview or see a video of any pedophile that has been interviewed to get a knowledge of
because
why?
Of my profession, I've met a couple of them. I've terrible cases. I've met where a father was sleeping with his daughter, not once, and you see. It's just sad. At early, I think the mother died or so she was handed over to the father, and the father started sleeping with her, I think when she was about 12 or 13 or so, and she had 2 abortions for her father. And then when they asked him, and he was like, oh, she looks like my wife, and I was like, come on, what are you saying? So there's no explanation. It's just lost. And stupidity is just like people that masturbate now. Instead of masturbating, they look for a prey, because maybe the girls will not agree for them, or they don't have money to pick prostitutes, or I don't know what it is, but I don't think there's an explanation for that. It's just like a psychiatric problem. Maybe they need to be treated and they need to be disciplined. That's just the truth. Yes.
If it's possible, put an X-ray on their head to find out what the problem is.
They didn't know, or they had the urge, or it's the devil. That's our best line. The devil came over me. I don't know why I did what I did, but there's no explanation for such.
Right. Speaking of religion, because some parents feel like I don't need to report to the authorities just for the reasons you mentioned, to save their faces and stuff. But some people go ahead to report to religion, to the head of the church, and they are like, oh, just pray for him and forgive him. What do you think about that?
I feel they're being selfish. When I meet such victims, first thing I ask them, what do you want? What do you need? Some will tell you, I just need to heal. Some will tell you, I want justice. So I think it depends on what the child wants. So they should always ask them, how do you feel about this? What do you want? In cases where they are very small, of course, they cannot know how to deal with it. Maybe they are 2 or 3 or 4. So you, the parent, you always put the best interest of the child. If they are very tiny, of course, sometimes, exposing them. But there are ways that you discipline people. I even heard that communities too discipline, though I don't know, they might flog, they will say they will give them some lashes, and all that. Right. But it has to do with what the parent and what the child wants, what is best for the child at that moment. But it's important for the person to be disciplined in one way or the other. Because if we say forgive, they might just move on to the next victim. I met a young girl who I was coaching and counseling, and she was abused from, I think, 8. Her father sent her to his brother, to put her in school. And she was there. She was abused till she came to me when she was about 15, I think. And this has been going on. You can imagine how many years. And I said, why didn't you tell your mom that? How would she tell her father that his brother? So she knew the implications, what it would mean to the family. So she just tolerated. And I said, but you're not helping. And he keeps bringing in other young girls. As of when she was leaving, 2 other girls, one was 10, one was 11, came. And you can imagine their faith. So I was like, you're not helping them. If you speak up, at least your father or somebody will hold him accountable. And it will also save the other young girls that have come to them. So there are cases, like that.
How about parents? There are parents who we know are very strict when it comes to certain things like this. Growing up, personally, I knew this lady that it was their gate man. She was the same age grade anyway. I didn't know much then, but I had an idea that the gate man had certain things she did to her. So when we were growing, I think our teenage age, we had a conversation related to that. She was like, the mother is so strict that she can't even say certain things about.
And it's true, sadly. That means she's afraid of the mother. Then when we're growing up, we fear our parents because of the way the respect thing is. Not like now that with the Gen Z mamas and, the way things have flipped, people are more comfortable. But then it's possible. It might just be fear. She didn't know how the mom might probably even take it to another level. Strict parents too, they will not take that nonsense if she was free enough. So I think that's why we still need to sensitize and keep teaching people to come out, to speak up,
And don't find the child as the victim. She's the victim. Don't blame her for something.
Yes, because I've seen where they'll tell you, see, you took a case and the police will be asking the girl, why did you dress like this? Why did you go there at that time? Why are you looking like this? You seduced him. Why did you go to his house? And I'm like, is that the right question? And they say, you went to a man's house, he lured you. What did you expect? It's very wrong. No means no. And for children, it's even sad because they don't even know what that means. They don't even understand what you're doing. So it's clear abuse, and exploitation.
In your experience, can you just throw light on, people say that as long as the person gives a consent, as long as the person says, oh, okay, go ahead, they don't have a problem with it. Is it true that until a child is 18, even if the child says, yes, go ahead, it means the child didn't give their consent?
Yes, I believe so. You know why? At 13, at 14, 12, they're just learning to know what's good, what's not, who they are, who they are not. Then a 30-something-year-old person or 40-something, because the girl is feeling maybe the hormones, her body is changing, and then you seduce her or she seduces you, and then you say she wanted it. A child is a child. There's no explanation. That's why they should also protect themselves. If a small girl comes and she's flirting, you should know her age and you should run away and flee. Yes, flee. So sometimes I understand they will keep saying, she wanted it, she was the one that begged for it, or she was the one. But what does she know? By law, she's a child, and a law is a law. So you abide. Sure. I know that there are young girls that look very mature, they are fully developed and all, but that's not an excuse.
I know when they're at that age, they really want to have certain kinds of experiences.
And their body's changing, they are hyper and all those things. So you also, it's just like, so would you say because he asked me to kill, I had to kill? It's still something like that. So you protect yourself.
Now, what's your take on Nigeria? Because why do you think Nigeria is so much on the limelight for this thing? I mean, are there no laws, systems to caution this?
There are certain factors also contributing. Nigerians, we shy away from sex education. Most parents cannot sit their children down at the age of 4, at the age of 5, 6, 7 to educate them. I always tell people that start sex education as early as 4. There are ways to go about these things. At age 4, you just tell them privacy, bad touch, good touch, things like that. When they get into 7 to about 11 now, because what an 11 or 12-year-old knows is what the teenagers know now.
Sure.
So at the age of like from 7, 8, 9 and all that, you start teaching them private parts. Let them be able to name this
Those
is a
things,
this is a that.
boundary.
Yes, know the boundary. Then when they are preteens, you start letting them know the implications of how their body reacts, what is abuse, what is force, what is this, what is that. So let's start talking about these things. I've heard a lot of people, even our peers, they'll say, my mother never had that talk with me. They'll just tell you, if a man comes near you, you get pregnant. So they didn't know these things. So when an uncle tells them, come and sit on my lap, how are you? They'll go and sit. When an uncle touches them somewhere, they don't know because you've not had that conversation. Yes. So I will encourage us, if we are really to tackle these things, let's start educating children from that tender age. They are age-appropriate teachings, for children. If we follow that and people, learn to do these things, and then the law is being enforced, let's make examples of perpetrators. Let people see them being punished. Let them see the drastic things done to them within the community sector, within, because even in small communities, you hear they drove the uncle away or they collected her from the family. That's not enough justice. You only just collected her from the family. What happens to the person? Yes,
punishment. There should be punishment. See.
So if they could help us enforce these laws, yes, and then the perpetrators are brought to justice, it will go a long way.
Speaking of the perpetrators now, some people say that these people are abused when they were little. That is why they grow up and become abusers.
Some, not all. Not all, definitely not all. And some of them, because the abusers also got away with it. They did it to me while I was small and nothing happened, so I can as well, And some too, it's like a punishment thing. It happened to me, so let other people suffer for it as well. Because I've seen a lot of twisted, people that will say, they did it to me now, and nothing happened, so let another person too suffer. So sometimes it might be things like that.
All right, if a child who is abused reports to the authorities, because there are laws that are like that in Nigeria, if they report to it, what do you think is the process the child will go through? Would there be, bring proof, bring this? Is it re-traumatizing? What's the process you think the child will go through? It definitely is.
Let me say, there was a girl, then I was a counselor, and I was following up her case, and that was when I knew the damages. At the point we had to pause and refer her to a mental health specialist because she had to relieve almost every office she enters. You enter the first person's office, what happened? You narrate your story. You enter the next person's office, what happened? You narrate your story. You enter the next person, then in court again, they will scrutinize you, try to make you look, so it's really, really, really damaging. And I still understand, because what if they are lying? So they need to get proof, but there should be other ways where the victim is being protected. She will climb on the stage or on the deck, and then they will ask her, and before that, so many people have asked her. She has passed through all.
And telling the story alone, you have to flash back to the experience.
At the point, her mental health was deteriorating. We had to pause and give her treatment, boost her self-esteem back, because it was like, is this even worth the stress? Later she started being discouraged. That's what happened. On many cases I've seen where they start with, I want justice, but when they go through the process, it's draining, and they're like, no, let me just deal with it, and they pull out. They don't want to go further because they are tired mentally, physically, and all. So there has to be a way that these things are investigated without traumatizing the victims.
Can you give me like 2 or 3 prompt actions you think Nigeria should take to combat this thing? What is the direct action they can take, not the one that, you go through offices, just like you mentioned, you have to do this, you have to do that. What is the direct, like a first aid? What is the first aid action to be done when they find somebody who experienced that?
There are already things in place, funny enough. It's just that maybe the general public are not aware
of it.
So when you see a victim like that, first thing is health, of course, first. You must stabilize them, cleanse them, give them the PEP treatment to make sure no disease, they are not injured and all that. After that, the next is supposed to be arrest. And I think if they're mobile courts or mobile, how do they call those things, where the justice or the cases could just be handled immediately without going through the filing, the long process. No, not really jungle justice, but the legal form of jungle justice without right? the jungle part of, jungle justice, they kill and they batter and all that. But if there are places where you could just go straight to, I think if the government could have in communities or in places or in police stations where there are courts immediately, this case is brought up, what are the evidences? There are some that you already know that this person is guilty. Yes, the evidence, everything is there. Why now drag it again to file, to do court case when you can see everything? So if they can have such things put in place where a victim can walk in and say, this is my evidence, this is what I've gone through, and they can send somebody immediately.
Prime suspect.
Yes, because sometimes they come with the evidence, this is what happened to me, or their family comes, handle it immediately. A girl has been with us for almost 2 years on one case, and till she finished, the case was not settled. It doesn't make sense. One issue or the other, the person is not available, this one is not available, that one happened, we are adjourned. It doesn't make sense. Even me, if I was the victim, I'll be tired and I'll just leave it to God,
Like so I said, it keeps re-traumatizing the person because you are coming to these people for help.
I think, I'm not sure, I think it's like NAPTIP are trying to have something like that, where they just handle traffic cases immediately. If we could put things like that, gender-based violence, child abuse, courts that are strictly for that you just go in with your case and it's handled immediately, it will go a long way. And if they could also, have those structures in communities, because some of these, rural communities and all, they have cases like this. So if there could be, just like how we have the chiefs and then they're under government, if we could establish things, I don't know what to call them, but you get what I'm saying. If we could put things like that in place where they could walk up into a community and report their case there and it's handled, there and then the justice is being served, it will go a long way.
Because we're speaking of pedophilia, even the people who say it, because of course we have freedom of speech, but then there are things you don't say. There was a recent trend about this celebrity, I don't know if you saw it, that said he molested a 12-year-old. Was it 12 or 15? I don't really remember. But it was in a live show and he said he molested and he asked the hotel person to come and clean up the place. And after so much dragging, he said it was just for clout. For you to even come online and see that. So is there punishment for those kind of people?
I really don't know, but I hope there is, because you shouldn't be proud to joke about things like that, no matter who you claim to be. It's wrong, because there are real life cases of girls being abused, and then you're proud as a celebrity, you're a role model to people, to you're encouraging the young people that it's okay to sleep with an underage person, and you call the hotel and you're proud about it, to even joke about this is an embarrassment. So sometimes if we make example of people like this, it would be good. He might have been joking about it, but they should have called him out on whatever he did. The law should have called him out to know that this is wrong, and they should have investigated. What if because of the heat or the dragging he actually did it and he's trying to cover up because he saw the backlash? So things like this should also be investigated, so people know that these things are serious. I didn't see the person though. I didn't see the video.
Didn't see the video.
No, but it's very wrong for a celebrity to joke or say things.
He was invited by NAPTIP. The last I know about it, I'm not sure if he has honored the invitation. He was invited, so I just hope they take serious action about it, because this would be like an encouragement to people, even if he didn't do it, to encourage other people who are doing it to feel like if somebody can come online and say this,
it's normal. Because this generation now, they idolize celebrities, they follow their fashion trends, everything they do. So it's more like you're endorsing that kind of thing. You're telling them it's okay to do this, and they laugh about such. It's very wrong. I think it's good that they called him in, and they should investigate.
Can you please give an advice to the victims, people who have survived it, people who are maybe currently going through it?
Yes, I would like to encourage victims. Where do I look into? So I'd like to encourage victims. Never be ashamed to come out. Of course, there's a good side and there's a bad side. The person who abused you should be ashamed of him or herself and should be the one to be dragged not about you. Now, yeah. So never be ashamed or afraid to seek for help, to seek for justice, or to walk in. Now there are a lot of NGOs, there are a lot of places. You can walk into Daughters of Abraham Foundation and tell them you've been abused, we'll look for a way out for you. You can walk into places like Whatclef. You know, there are organizations that might not have their names. MICAT, there are places you can go. Yes, SDF, good. Those ones they deal with mental health and they go pro bono too. You can walk into places now and seek for help. There are numbers online you can call. Never be ashamed. And even if you don't want your identity, sometimes we protect them. We don't bring out their faces except they're going for cases, and then we know how to manage it. So they don't have to be exposed. They could still be protected. So they should never be ashamed to come out to tell their story or to speak up. Speak to your parents, speak to your caregiver, and if they're not giving you the result you want, speak to your teacher, whoever it is. Go to your community leaders, seek for help, because if you don't, you might think you're okay with it, and then in the long run it's a problem. Yes, you'll see married women, and then it's at the age of 30, 40. They now have to start coming out to say, this happened to me when I was young, and then maybe the husband has had to deal with so much. So how do you go about things? And so it's just good to speak up, and no matter how long it takes, still speak up so that you get your healing. That's just the truth.
Thank you so much, Madam Godiya. Thanks for that wonderful insight. Thank you guys for watching. Please, we're going to have to put some of these bodies at the end of this video, so you can watch to the end of the video to, get contacts of people you can relate to, people you can talk to about what you're going through. Please don't forget to follow us on all our social media. Don't forget to like, share, and comment for more episodes on this. See you next time. This is still Unfiltered. I'm Emanuela Okechukwu. Bye.